Welcome to the Bible Breakdown. It's a black man and woman in America who no longer identify as believers. This show contains adult languages, themes, and isn't meant for children. As black people, we respect the history of the black church in America, but its current state is massively abusive, and we think the Bible might be part of the problem. Listen and let us know what you think. Peace. Welcome back to the Bible Breakdown. I'm your host, Kat.
I'm TK.
Hello, TK. Welcome back to the United States.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Okay, so do you remember what we talked about last time on the Bible Breakdown?
Asa began his reign, right?
Sure.
We did 13 through 15 last time.
We did.
There was a judgment on the house of Jeroboam. And
why? What did he do? Oh, he was listening to women. Can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they were like, oh, them wives of yours are making you worship different gods.
And then Jeroboam died. And Rehoboam took over, reigned over Judah. And then Asa took over, reigned over Judah. So a lot of changing of the guard.
Yeah, it seems to be
then there was an alliance with Israel.
Can I just make this note? Before we started recording, we were talking a little bit about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in Gaza. And just this idea of, it seems like since the inception of all of this, it hasn't been a recipe for stability.
Well, can you elaborate on that?
Well, even right now, like you said, we've just had power exchange hands over and over again. And it just started like a couple kings ago. Like we started with Saul, and God immediately got like mad at Saul for not killing everybody. He told Saul, Saul was like, because it was Samuel who was being God's middleman, and he was like, hey, God said to kill this, this, and this, and then Saul only killed this and this. And so then Samuel was like, I'm going to find somebody who takes orders better and is hotter. And so he finds David. And so before these kings can even finish their reign, it seems like, the first king, like God was like, it even says in the passage that God regretted choosing Saul, which is so weird. And then David takes over. He gets into a lot of nonsense with him and his sons, but at least he dies while in office and passes the reins over to Solomon. And then Solomon has a couple good years, but then, it was Solomon who was listening to his wife, maybe not Jeroboam.
Okay.
And then Solomon loses favor with God, and then like the kingdom split up into Israel and Judah. I mean, it wasn't like there was like any dynasty for 1,000 years where they reigned peacefully. Like everyone's just been fighting over the scraps of the resources in this society.
Yeah. Also, this is so much to keep up with. Again, not an expert at this, just kind of reading this because I've never read it before, and this is what I've gotten. So that's where we're at with it all, I would say.
Okay. So when people come up to you and tell you that this is the good book, what are your usual thoughts?
So it's funny that you should say that, because on my retreat, if you will, I have several instances of.
Do you want to tell the people?
So you were gonna say what? Oh, so I went to Mexico to help put up solar panels on on roofs of foster children, essentially. And one of the organizations that our foundation partners with, that organization is steeped in Christianity. And I got a few things out of it. One, people are just people no matter where you go on this globe. I think you see that the more that you travel, and I certainly did. Like going to Mexico, I'm not fluent. I'm not conversationally fluent in Spanish, but body language, social cues are things that are pretty much identifiable anywhere that you
vibes.
go. And so from that aspect, I really did enjoy my time. And we didn't have moments where the Bible or God was specifically like interjected, like, hey, let's pray tonight. There was one moment, the very last night we were asked to pray together, and I just sat there and did that, and it was after an exhausting day, and I was just like, let's do it, whatever, fine. But for the most part, God and Christianity didn't go too hard. However, I will say this. If you think that the United States of America loves Jesus Christ, oh boy. Mexico loves Jesus Christ.
They love them some Jesus.
Yes.
At least they're closer to saying his name right.
Oh yeah, because you said the
it's very angry. It's a very Euro pronunciation of this very Middle Eastern word. But yeah, because they be naming their kids that, like Jesus, like they go hard. But once again, I feel like very similar to the religiosity of Black people in America, I think it's a trauma response from colonization.
Sidebar: Have you seen any new films lately?
It's funny. I was actually just thinking the other day about how nothing has really caught my interest to go to the theater since Dune, and I'm probably not going to go back to the theater until Deadpool.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't know if you've seen Challengers or anything like that.
I've never even heard of it.
This is a Zendaya movie. She's a tennis player.
Oh, I like that better though. A tentist.
She is part of this love triangle of tennis players.
Oh, I think I saw a clip of that the other day because I was like, oh damn, why is Zendaya sitting on a bed with two dudes making out with her?
Yeah, it's that movie. Never mind. I was going to try to switch gears here in the interest of time.
And say, sorry.
Hey, we should just do a movie review episode, but it's fine.
No. Bible it is. We got to eat our vegetables. Okay. 1 Kings 16. The word of the Lord came to Jehu, son of Hanani, against Baasha, saying, since I exalted you out of the dust and made you leader over my people Israel, and you have walked in the way of Jeroboam and have caused my people Israel to sin, provoking me to anger with their sins, therefore I will consume Baasha and his house, and I will make your house like the house of Jeroboam, son of Nebat. Anyone belonging to Baasha who dies in the city, the dogs shall eat, and anyone of his who dies in the field, the birds of the air shall eat. Now, the rest of the acts of Baasha, what he did, and his power, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? Baasha slept with his ancestors and was buried at Tirzah, and his son Elha succeeded him. Moreover, the word of the Lord came by the prophet Jehu, son of Hanani, against Baasha and his house, both because of all the evil that he did in the sight of the Lord, provoking him to anger with the work of his hands and being like the house of Jeroboam, and also because he destroyed it. Elha reigns over Israel. In the 26th year of King Asa of Judah, Elha, son of Baasha, began to reign over Israel in Tirzah. He reigned 2 years, but his servant Zimri, commander of half his chariots, conspired against him. When he was at Tirzah, drinking himself drunk in the house of Arza, who was in charge of the palace at Tirzah, Zimri came in and struck him down and killed him in the 27th year of King Asa of Judah, and succeeded him. When he began to reign, as soon as he had seated himself on his throne, he killed all the house of Baasha. He did not leave a single male of his kindred or his friends. Thus Zimri destroyed all the house of Baasha according to the word of the Lord, which he spoke against Baasha by the prophet Jehu. Because of all the sins of Baasha and the sins of his son Elhab they committed, and they caused Israel to commit, provoking the Lord God of Israel to anger with their idols. Now the rest of the acts of Elhab and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? Third dynasty, Zimri reigns over Israel. In the 27th year of King Asa of Judah, Zimri reigned 7 days in Tirzah. Now the troops were encamped against Gilbethon, which belonged to the Philistines. And the troops who were encamped heard it, said, Zimri has conspired, and he has killed the king. Therefore, all Israel made Omri, the commander of the army, king over Israel that day in the camp. So Omri went up from Gibbethon, and all Israel with him, and they besieged Tirzah. When Zimri saw that the city was taken, he went into the citadel of the king's house. He burned down the king's house over himself with fire and died, because of the sins he committed, doing evil in the sight of the Lord, walking in the way of Jeroboam, and for the sins that he committed and causing Israel to sin. Now the rest of the acts of Zimri and the conspiracy that he made, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? Fourth dynasty, Omri reigns over Israel. Then the people of Israel were divided into two parts. Half of the people followed Tibni, son of Ginath, to make him king, and half followed Omri. But the people who followed Omri overcame the people who followed Tibri, son of Gibnath. So Tibni died, and Omri became king. On the 31st year of King Asa of Judah, Omri began to reign over Israel. He reigned for 12 years, 6 of them in Tirzah. Samaria, the new capital. He bought the hill of Samaria from Shemar for 2 talents of silver. He fortified the hill and called the city that he built Samaria, after the name of Simir, the owner of the hill. Omri did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, for he did more evil than all who were before him, for he walked in all the way of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, and in the sins that he caused Israel to commit, provoking the Lord, the God of Israel, to anger by their idols. Now the rest of the acts of Omri that he did and the power that he showed, are they not written in the books of the annals of the kings of Israel? Omri slept with his ancestors and was buried in Samaria. His son Ahab succeeded him. Ahab reigns over Israel. Oh, shoot. Sorry. Lost my place there. In the 38th year of King Asa of Judah, Ahab, son of Omri, began to reign over Israel. Ahab, son of Omri, reigned over Israel in Samaria 22 years. Ahab, son of Omri, did the evil in the sight of the Lord more than all who were before him. Ahab marries Jezebel and worships Baal. And as if it had been a light thing for him to walk in the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, he took as his wife Jezebel, daughter of King Ethbaal of the Sidonians, and went and served Baal and worshipped him. He erected an altar for Baal in the house of Baal, which he built in Samaria. Ahab also made a sacred pole. Ahab did more to provoke the anger of the Lord, the God of Israel, that had all the kings of Israel who were before him. In his days, Hiel of Bethel built Jericho. He laid his foundation at the cost of Abraham, his firstborn, and set up its gates at the cost of his youngest son, Segub, according to the word of the Lord, which he spoke by Joshua, son of Nun.
Thanks be to God. So, when it said Omri slept with his ancestors,
yeah, they're being poetic.
I feel like a lot happened here, but also it feels like nothing.
So I would like more specifics on what it means to do evil in the sight of the Lord. When they said like he committed like the sins of Jeroboam or whatever, what did Jeroboam do? I know before he said I was kind of joking about him listening to women, but is he the one who erected the sacred poles? When I hear that, I kind of like envision it like a totem pole.
Well, going back to death of Jeroboam, Now the rest of the acts of Jeroboam, how he warred, and how he reigned are written in the...
Are they not written in the annals of the kings of Israel?
Written in the books of Annal, the time that Jeroboam reigned was... Okay, it's just giving him... It doesn't really say what he did. Judgment of the house.
Yeah, because I'm with you. Like, a lot happened, but it was just the same thing happening over and over again, which is someone took power, and then somebody took power from the person who just took power.
You know what? Instead of rereading this, there is a tool.
And like I said, I would be more likely to believe, like, a God inspired this if it wasn't the very same story of almost every, like, sort of royal dynasty in history.
Yeah. Just a second. What did...
No, I have more complaining to do.
Okay,
and also Jezebel has entered the chat. You know, she's
I know. That's one of your favorites.
I mean, well, I would say she's one of my favorites, but it's just always...
Well, I just know you like the name.
Yes, because it's always
whatever.
just used as an insult for a woman such as myself.
Gotcha.
Which is basically a woman who doesn't have a male minder.
Oh, is that what it means? I always thought it meant
I mean,
just you're a
ultimately,
whore.
well, yes, exactly. But even more specifically, a renegade whore. Because even some whores have pimps. Like, you can at least be like, well, at least a man's getting paid off of this. We can respect that. But, like, a woman who just sort of, you know, lives for, you know, with freedom. Like, ew, Jezebel.
I really want you to watch the video that I'll keep referencing, and I'm going to send that to you after this, and I just want to hear your thoughts, because I don't agree with everything she said. For the listeners, the video I'm referring to
is it going to piss me off?
Soft white under... No, I don't think it will. I don't know, because you're unpredictable these days.
I'm squishy and complicated.
Well, I think because she's a woman saying things, I think you will appreciate some of the things she's saying, but I don't think you're going to agree with everything, because she has a religious foundation, but that doesn't negate some of the social and dating things she said. For the listeners, the interview I'm referring to is Soft White Underbelly's interview of Sadia Khan, who is a psychologist, I'm assuming. But yeah, link in bio, link in the description. Jeroboam, back to this person, is essentially credited with some of his key deeds being leading a revolt. Jeroboam was a foreman under King Solomon. The prophet Ahijah prophesied that Jeroboam would rule over the 10 northern tribes of Israel, which led Jeroboam to lead a revolt against Solomon's son Rehoboam. The revolt split the united monarchy of Israel into two kingdoms, the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah. Becoming king of Israel, following the successful revolt, Jeroboam became the first king of the northern kingdom of Israel. He established his capital as Shechem and reigned for 22 years. And then he instituted religious change, fearing the pilgrims to Jerusalem in the south would weaken his hold on the new kingdom. Jeroboam instituted religious changes. He set up 2 golden calves, one in Bethel and one in Dan, as alternative places of worship to the temple in Jerusalem. This act is considered idolatry in the Bible. So it was the idolatry.
Okay. These fucking golden cows, man.
Yeah.
But I get it. Like, for ancient man, I'm sure cows were more useful than, you know, God.
I don't know. I was thinking this while you were reading it. I've said this multiple times, different ways. I think that most people like the idea of God. They don't necessarily follow what is preached in the Bible. But I think that because they're so intersected, it's hard for people to separate the two. Like, I feel like, I've said this before, I feel like for most people, God is more like a mantra, like, you know, may the force be with you, or something like that. But because it's so tied to the Christian background, it's very hard to just leave this part of it alone and only focus on, I guess, the spiritual aspect of, yeah, we should be, treat everyone with respect and kindness and things like that. The things that are marketed and certainly not followed.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. Like, this isn't, I know people kind of like get up in arms when they kind of maybe learn about what we're criticizing the Bible, but it's only because, like, I would prefer the branding around Christianity to be, like, if that was what was actually in the Bible, like, I wouldn't have a problem with it. If it really was about, being good to your neighbor and self-control and all this other stuff, that would be great, but it tends to not be. And a lot of people really suffer from these. Like I said, before I was making the point that a lot of religiosity, here in the States and in Mexico, is born out of the amount of colonialism, specifically, for Black people, the enslavement, for 400 years. And then for the indigenous people, just, having their culture and, entire way of life attacked. For some people to make sense of it, it's like, well, this must have been the divine will. We must have been being punished for being the wrong religion. And these people who have conquered us, they must have the right religion. And I don't think that's the case. They just had better weapons and lots of diseases.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case either, and I think that's foolish to even think that.
But it's very
that's
common.
Like saying,
I don't know about you. I would hear that growing up from like older
Oh,
adults.
I heard that as well.
That we were enslaved because God wanted us to be Christians.
Well, I've heard that, but I just feel like it's silly, because that's like saying, if I go commit a murder and then they can't get to, like, they punish my child, like they send my child to jail or something, that doesn't make sense. Like, I didn't have anything to do with this, so why am I having to?
Because it's stakes, man. You haven't
be
watched
responsible
Shogun.
for it.
You watch Shogun. That's a big theme of it, where it's like, man, I've dishonored myself. I gotta go kill myself and every male in my line.
Yeah, that's fucking ridiculous.
But it's definitely sets a tone. Like, when the only punishment is death, you think about.
No, but because
I'm not in favor of it. I'm just saying, like, in these types of societies, like creating those kinds of stakes, like I said, because it would be hard to control a populace, an uneducated, illiterate population.
But the problem I have with such extremes like that is, regardless, the people who are still making these decisions are still people. People are fallible. So therefore, by that logic, we get into instances where things become. Did you watch the Amanda Seales interview?
I only heard about it. I can't really watch that show.
Okay, well, there were moments where I feel like I don't necessarily agree with everything that she said or whatever, but that's not the point. The point I was about to make is, when it comes to people just not like it, like somebody could just not like you and not want to do something for you, like that, but they're in a position of power. Mm-hmm. Well, that's bullshit. So, like, I just, like, why would I kill my whole bloodline, or why should I have to suffer because of your insecurity or whatever it is? That, I don't like that logic at all.
Yeah, I hope humans continue to progress. Like, the idea we want to, like, sort of regress back into this is concerning to me. Where especially since I think, the way we live now is much better than Bible days, just the way it's described. Like, people have no idea, like, how much of your life is shaped by indoor plumbing.
Oh, I learned so much when I was in Mexico. We could not flush we can only flush what comes out of a human body. So if you had to poop, you had to throw it in a trash can right next to you. And then some of the foster kids would come later and just like basically clean up the bathroom and stuff like that.
All right.
But it's still like,
yeah,
it's uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable moment.
Yeah,
because then if you come in the restroom after somebody, well, then they just pooped and like you just see all their smeared toilet paper in the trash can.
All right, 1 Kings 17.
Elijah predicts a drought. Now Elijah the Tishbite of Tisbeh in Gilead said to Ahab, as the Lord the God of Israel lives, before whom I stand, there shall be neither dew nor rain these years except by my word. The word of the Lord came to him, saying, Go from here and turn eastward and hide yourself by the Wadi Cherith, which is east of Jordan. You shall drink from the wadi, and I have commanded the ravens to feed you there. So he went and did according to the word of the Lord. He went and lived by the Wadi Cherith, which is east of the Jordan. The ravens brought him bread and meat in the morning, and bread and meat in the evening, and he drank from the wadi. But after a while the wadi dried up, because there was no rain in the land. The widow of Zarephath. Then the word of the Lord came to him, saying, Go now to Zarephath, which belongs to Sidon, and live there, for I have commanded a widow there to feed you. So he set out and went to Zarephath. When he came to the gate of the town, a widow was there gathering sticks. He called to her and said, Bring me a little water in a vessel so that I may drink. As she was going to bring it, he called to her and said, Bring me a morsel of bread in your hand. But she said, As the Lord your God lives, I have nothing baked, only a handful of meal in a jar and a little oil in a jug. I am now gathering a couple of sticks, so that I may go home and prepare for myself and my son, that we may eat it and die. Elijah said to her, Do not be afraid, and go and do as you have said, but first make me a little cake of it and bring it to me. And afterwards make something for yourself and your son. For thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, the jar of meal will not be emptied, and the jug of oil will not fail until the day that the Lord sends rain on the earth. She went and did as Elijah said, so that she, as well as he and her household, ate for many days. The jar of meal was not emptied, neither did the jug of oil fail, according to the word of the Lord that spoke by Elijah. Elijah revives the widow's son. After this, the son of the widow, the mistress of the house, became ill. His illness was so severe that there was no breath left in him. She then said to Elijah, What have you against me, O man of God? What have you against me, O man of God? You have come to me to bring my sin to remembrance, and to cause the death of my son. But he said to her, Give me your son. He took him from her bosom, carried him up into the upper chamber where he was lodging, and laid him on his own bed. He cried out to the Lord, O Lord my God, have you brought calamity even upon the widow with whom I am staying, by killing her son? Then he stretched himself upon the child 3 times and cried out to the Lord, O Lord my God, let this child's life come into him again. The Lord listened to the voice of Elijah. The life of the child came into him again, and he revived. Elijah took the child, brought him down from the upper chamber into the house, and gave him to his mother. Then Elijah said, See, your son is alive. So the woman said to Elijah, Now I know that you are a man of God, and that the word of the Lord in your mouth is truth.
Oh, cool.
Whoa.
So, okay.
I feel like that was a little precursor to our boy coming up, Jesus.
What? Oh,
Because two things happened in there.
The 3s. Because he stretched his body over the little boy 3 times. Because that could be foreshadowing the 3 days it took for the resurrection.
Yeah, I was not thinking that at all. But yes, I was thinking more so. The first story, or one of the stories where he was saying the meal wouldn't run out. That reminds me of the
loaves and fishes. That also made me think a little bit of Hanukkah. Because that's the miracle of Hanukkah, that the oil didn't run out on the
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's just like, oh man, unlimited resources, woohoo!
And then when the son was revived, that reminded me of, doesn't Jesus revive John the Baptist?
Nope.
Who does he revive? He.
You're almost there.
He does. It's John the Baptist. Nope. Who is it?
Lazarus.
Oh, sorry, John. Didn't mean to put that death on you. It is Lazarus, because that's literally like
Lazarus.
the slang that people use
It's
for
okay.
rising.
I was gonna try to let you get there, but you're so damn confident.
Did Lazarus
It's
change
like
his
it was
name
John
to
the Baptist, bitch. It's like
no, it was Lazarus. All right. Well, so that reminded me of that.
Yeah.
That
That's a really good catches. I don't know. This story is just kind of weird to me. I don't know. He's staying with this widow. Do you think they were doing it? Okay.
Yeah. If they weren't, he felt very confident telling her, "Make me some fucking food." Like, that was crazy.
I was thinking that too. I was like, huh. So you could just show up and be like, hey, so you're getting some sticks, maybe something to eat. And he's like, oh, my bad. I was about to actually go cook this and kill myself. And it was like, and he was like, don't. It's like, nah, you ain't got to do that. I'll stay with you, and you won't. I mean, it does lightweight kind of sound like an allegory for like a single mom who takes in a guy. Except usually that doesn't go great. But I don't know. I guess the miracle is supposed to be like God took care of these people because they took care of his prophet. But also, why not just send some rain? Help everybody.
I don't know. I don't like, so many things could be solved by just doing those things, but yet they don't do them.
Man, I guess they weren't within God's favor.
That seems to be the trait.
I've been saying Ahab because, like, from like Moby Dick, but I think you said Ahab, which is probably a more accurate pronunciation.
Oh, but I like Ahab better.
Well, I liked yours better.
All right, well, we go with
Ahab. That's so country. But yeah, I think that's all I have for now. I'm mostly just sort of like, okay. Like, I had to spend some time. Like I said, this was sort of a family, like, weekend, so I had to spend a lot of time listening to a lot of religious rhetoric. Oh, yeah. And it's kind of like, that's one of the things I liked about the diversity at the graduation, because it was all kind of religion. So it was like, it looks like everybody's gods was helping everybody out.
Yeah. Which makes me feel like
and actually I was showing one of my clients a picture of my kids, and they were like, oh my god, because they're tall, and I was like, yeah, they might as well be my gods, because I do everything for them.
Yeah,
like everything I do, I'm pretty much doing for them. So yeah. But I'm glad that I didn't raise them religiously. I think I put that in my corner. I'm not trying to be an asshole, so I don't bring it up constantly. And even if I did, people will be like, well, someone was praying for them. It's like, okay, but I feel like they're doing a lot better than a lot of people who are directly in church all the freaking time.
The 5-year-old that I see sometimes.
Your goddaughter.
With my goddaughter, yes. Has started going to church with her grandmother, and I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I don't have a say because I'm not her biological father.
I think it's mean to teach kids about hell. I think technically that could be categorized as a type of child abuse. We've just normalized it, but like even right now, like we're at Kings, like we're deep into the Bible. There's no mention of hell. If hell was a real thing and it hasn't been mentioned yet, then this God person is criminally negligent.
Well, because I asked my goddaughter, I was like, oh, what did you learn at church? And she was like, oh, we learned about God and Jesus. And I was like, oh, well, did you like that? And she was like, yeah, I liked because we like there's a park there and there's like she named all shit that didn't have to do with
the branding. They've got
like,
merch, they've got coffee, they've got
she was like they have food and like all this stuff that I was like, oh well, you could get that without going to church too.
Yeah, you're describing the mall.
So I don't know. Hopefully she doesn't stick with that. But again, I don't know how to say.
Kids, especially young girls, they see things so, like that's why kids get on people's nerves. Like the questions they ask, they're like, just let me run my programming. Don't ask me the question. All right, but let me just go ahead and hit this so that we're not super late for work. 1 Kings 18. Did we mention this is the New Revised Standard Version?
I believe you said at the beginning, but if not, this is the New Revised Standard Version.
Okay. 1 Kings 18. Elijah's message to Ahab. After many days, the word of the Lord came to Elijah in the 3rd year of the drought, saying, Go, present yourself to Ahab. I will send rain on the earth. So Elijah went to present himself to Ahab. The famine was severe in Samaria. Ahab summoned Obadiah, who was in charge of the palace. Now Obadiah revered the Lord greatly. When Jezebel was killing off the prophets of the Lord, Obadiah took 100 prophets, hid them 50 to a cave, and provided them with bread and water. Then Ahab said to Obadiah, Go through the land to all the springs of water and to all the wadis. Perhaps we may find grass to keep the horses and mules alive and not lose some of the animals. So they divided the land between them to pass through it. Ahab went in one direction by himself, and Obadiah went in another direction by himself. As Obadiah was on the way, Elijah met him. Obadiah recognized him, fell to his face, and said, Is it you, my lord Elijah? He answered him, It is I. Go, tell your lord that Elijah is here. Then he said, How have I sinned that you would hand your servant over to Ahab to kill me? As your Lord God lives, there is no nation or kingdom to which my Lord is not sent to you to seek you. And when they would say, He is not here, he would require an oath of the kingdom or nation that they had not found you. But now you say, Go tell your Lord Elijah is here. As soon as I have gone from you, the Spirit of the Lord will carry you, I know not where. So when I come and tell Ahab that he cannot find you, he will kill me, although I, your servant, have revered the Lord from my youth. Has it not been told, my Lord, what I did when Jezebel killed the prophets of the Lord, how I hid 100 of the Lord's prophets, 50 to a cave, and provided them with bread and water? Yet now you say, Go tell your Lord that Elijah is here. He will surely kill me. Elijah said, As the Lord of hosts lives, before whom I stand, I will surely show myself to him today. So Obadiah went to meet Ahab and told him, and Ahab went to meet Elijah. When Ahab saw Elijah, Ahab said to him, Is it you troubler of Israel? He answered, I have not troubled Israel, but you have, and your father's house, because you have forsaken the commandments of the Lord and followed the Baals. Now therefore, all Israel assemble for me at Mount Carmel with the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah who eat at Jezebel's table. Elijah's triumph over the priests of Baal. So Ahab sent to all the Israelites and assembled the prophets at Mount Carmel. Elijah then came near to all the people and said, How long will you go limping with two different opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal, then follow him. The people did not answer him a word. Then Elijah said to the people, even I only am left a prophet of the Lord, but Baal's prophets number 450. Let 2 bulls be given us. Let them choose 1 bull for themselves, cut it into pieces, lay it on the wood, but put no fire on it. I will prepare the other bull and lay it on the wood, but put no fire on it. Then you call on the name of your God, and I will call on the name of my God, the name of the Lord. The God who answers by fire is indeed God. All the people answered, Well spoken. Then Elijah said to the prophets of Baal, Choose for yourself 1 bull and prepare it first, for you are many. Then call on the name of your God, but put no fire to it. So they took the bull that was given him, prepared it, and called on the name of Baal from morning until noon, crying, O Baal, hear us, but no voice, no answer. They limped about the altar that they had made. At noon, Elijah mocked them, saying, Cry aloud. Surely he is a god. Either he is meditating, or he has wandered away, or he is on a journey, or perhaps he is asleep and must be awakened. Then they cried aloud, as was their custom. They cut themselves with swords and lances until the blood gushed over them. As midday passed, they raved on until the time of offering of the oblation, but there was no voice, no answer, no response. Then Elijah said to all the people, "Come closer to me." And all the people came close to him. First he repaired the altar of the Lord that had been thrown down. Elijah took 12 stones, according to the number of tribes of the sons of Jacob, to whom the word of the Lord came, saying, "Israel shall be your name." With the stone he built an altar in the name of the Lord. Then he made a trench around the altar large enough to contain 2 measures of seed. Next he put the wood in order, cut the bull in pieces, and laid it on the wood. He said, "Fill 4 jars with water and pour it on the burnt offering on the wood." Then he said, "Do it a second time." They did it a second time. Then he said, "Do it a third time." They did it a third time, so that the water ran down the altar and filled the trench, and also with water. At the time the offering of the obligation, the prophet Elijah came near and said, "O Lord, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Israel, let it be known this day that you are the God of Israel, that I am your servant, and that I have done all these things at your bidding. Answer me, O Lord, answer me, so that the people may know that you, O Lord, are God, and that you have turned their hearts back." Then the fire of the Lord fell and consumed the burnt offering, the wood, the stones, the dust, and even licked up the water that was in the trench. When the people saw it, they fell on their faces and said, "The Lord indeed is God, and the Lord indeed is God." Elijah said to them, "Seize the prophets of Baal, do not let one of them escape." Then they seized them and brought Elijah down to the Wadi Kishon and killed them there. The drought ends. Elijah said to Ahab, "Go up, eat and drink, for there is a sound of rushing rain." So Ahab went up to eat and drink. Elijah went up to the top of Carmel. There he bowed himself down to the earth and put his face between his knees. He said to his servant, "Go up now, look toward the sea." He went up and looked and said, "There is nothing." He said, "Go again, go again 7 times. After the 7th time, he said, "Look, a little cloud no bigger than a person's hand is rising out of the sea." Then he said, "Go, say to Ahab, harness your chariot and go down before the rain stops you." In a little while the heavens grew black with clouds and winds, there was a heavy rain. Ahab rode off and went to Jezreel. But the hand of the Lord was on Elijah, and he girded his loins and ran from Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel.
Thanks be to God. So, I'm confused.
How are you confused? This was crystal clear. What's there to be confused about?
Well, I get the fact. First of all, why do we keep having to deal with, like, I guess it's called idolatry? Mm-hmm. So sacrificial bulls and things like that. I don't understand why. Anyway.
Well, it's similar to
they're
now.
supposed
People
to be convinced of the Lord's power. You said what about a God they can see?
People want a God they can see.
Yeah, and this in Christian God seems like this imaginary friend.
Yeah, he's very elusive, because that way you can put like anything on him when it's not like nailed down. I mean, I think people, I don't know. I remember this story from Sunday school, like it's supposed to be this like flex, but now reading it, I'm like, okay, this was what was supposed to impress people, and I'm supposed to believe like the priest of Baal, like, because I feel like all of these guys are in on the game, you know what I mean? Like, they know this is all just bullshit, so like they set up stuff like one of the things you learn when you're like learning about like old sculptures that were in like temples to these gods and stuff, they had little riggings in them to trigger like things that look like miracles. Basically, I used to have this thing where I say like all magic is just veiled technology. So like for someone who doesn't know how the trick works, it looks like magic. Yeah. So if this isn't in any way a real story, Elijah just had a way of making this happen with a certain amount of flair so it looked like magic, but...
Well, how does that explain the cloud that appears at the end?
You just write that down.
Okay.
My whole thing is like, if this was still real, like there'd be you know what I mean? Like you should still be able to do this stuff. That's the whole thing. Like if this is how God works. Because like, do you ever wonder why we don't get miracles anymore? Like those televangelists are always like, "Oh, I healed you. It's a miracle." But I mean, those people aren't doing anything.
Oh yeah, I always wonder. And then the fact that we don't get them, maybe
it's like, why don't you do this act at a hospital?
I don't know. And even when things do happen, I just feel like it's just, I don't know, I don't know if coincidence is the right
No,
word.
it's
but
called
just like,
spontaneous remission. Sometimes your body heals itself. But like even these like televangelists or faith healers, like they don't go to hospitals because they can't select, you know, the people they're going to heal. Like when they do these revivals, they have people to go out and like hand select people. If I'm gonna watch your thing, I'm gonna send you something too. It was this documentary that was on HBO years ago called A Question of Miracles, where they kind of like,
see, mine, I feel like yours is gonna piss me off. Mine is gonna spark a healthy conversation.
well, I mean, yeah. It's very frustrating to see, like, I don't like it when people exploit vulnerable people. And there's very few people who are more vulnerable than either like you with health concerns, you know what I mean, like whether you were born with it or you just had a catastrophic event that like severely impacted your mobility, and then here comes this person who's like, if you love God enough, he will heal you. But and it's, you know, I take it a little personally because I've seen that kind of unfold in my own family, and it's just so frustrating and infuriating. And the fact that it also makes it hard for people who've done the work of trying to become healers and doctors. Like the religious people don't want to listen to them because they're like, here you go with your muckety muck science, and then here's this guy who's just like, you just send me some money and Jesus will be like, boom.
Yeah, people don't want to invest that money in stocks or anything.
Yeah, fuck stocks.
No, I wouldn't say that.
I mean, like I said, like
100%.
you can play the money,
but I'm
game,
saying this
turn
money could be used.
Money, but I would rather like put money into the people around you. Like before you start doing stocks and like giving money away to these like large, massive corporations, like spend your resources with the people like around you. Like that's going to be a way more, and it's going to be more fulfilling as well. As someone who's had stocks and then has also done community like investment, one feels way better than the other.
Point I'm making is, if you're gonna throw your money into something you don't understand, at least you have the
I would say most people don't understand the stock market.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like, if you're gonna throw your money in something you don't understand, you have a more likely outcome of getting a return from stocks than
but I think my advice is like, put your money in stuff you do understand.
Okay.
Yeah, like that would be wiser. Like it just depends on what your goals are though. Like if your goals are to be insanely rich like in 50 years, do the stocks. But if you want to enrich your life and the lives around you more immediately, invest in your community.
Yeah. Give your time. That is something I definitely learned on my retreat. Is just, you can simply just give time and do things like what I did. Just go down and put solar panels on these kids' roof, regardless of the organization itself.
Here, like
we can use that here too.
Sure.
I'm
not saying don't go and do it either. Do it everywhere. Like, you know, do it here, do it there, do it everywhere. Like you should. I don't know. I feel the more and more I think about like what we're doing and just the fact that people like want to affiliate themselves with Jesus so much, but like did you ever get a chance to watch Neil's special?
No,
we did the commercials for the different religions and they're roasting each other, and Judaism was like, why worship a Jew when you can be one? It's like, yeah, like we're worshiping this guy, but we don't even, like, everyone's message is like, get money, and it's like, that is not what Jesus was about at all.
I might watch that today.
Yeah, you should. It's like a rainy day. It's a good day to. Oh, do you have to like go in?
No, I'm working from home.
Nice. Well, we should tell the people what they have to look forward to next on the Bible Breakdown. Yeah, because Jezebel, we did learn that Jezebel was killing off the priest, which is common during power grabs. You don't necessarily, and then vice versa. When Elijah took power, he killed all the priests of Baal. So, but I can understand, like, why, like, they keep wanting to make it seem like everyone who's against them is bad, but when you look at what they've actually been doing, which is just, you know, running a slave trade and killing a bunch of animals to get God to listen to them, like, these weren't, it's very similar to priests today, where you're inordinately, like, powerful and you're not really contributing anything to society. Other than selling people an afterlife fantasy.
Yeah,
which also is harmful because it makes people not want to invest in the future. Like I said, the idea that, oh, well, right now just live your life for Jesus because he'll be coming back any moment to destroy the world once all the Jews are in Israel.
Yeah, but I struggle not with that, but with the idea of knowing that when you just die, and that can be damaging, I think, in itself, because you can get into this nihilistic viewpoint of what is the point of
what do you mean? Like, it's great. Like, the whole, it gives stakes. Like, now it's like you gotta make it.
It does, but if I'm not me particularly,
for other people, and I don't think
for
it's
other
over.
people,
it's what you leave. Like, and then, like I said, like, infinitesimal.
But some people look at it from like, why do I care about what I leave when I'm not going to benefit from it directly?
It's just called not
I think
being
that's a
huge
valid
piece of shit.
I mean, but that's your opinion.
I mean, the fact that you're just focused on, like, I'm so important, I should go on forever. Like, yeah, that is my opinion. That's not a great.
But a lot of people
POV.
Cannot get past that. Yeah. I am telling you.
I know.
A lot of people cannot get past themselves.
It's sad. Like, I just tell people, because we didn't even get to mention, like, we just celebrated Star Trek Day. May the 4th be with you. Which
that's not Star Trek. That's Star Wars.
Sorry, I need to wake up.
Star Trek doesn't even have a fucking
day. Yes, it does. It's September 8th. Fuck nuts.
Well, nobody talks about that.
It doesn't say, it's not a pun.
Oh, no, they do. Live long and prosper, I guess.
Well, anyway, this is spiraling.
Not as cool as May the 4th be with
But yeah, people, like, you just gotta be okay with dying. Okay, but I'm sorry. Elijah, next on Bible Breakdown, Elijah flees from Jezebel. Ahab's war with the Arameans and Naboth's vineyard.
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
So yeah, I don't know what else to say. I feel, I guess, just kind of, I think I feel a little grouchy now.
Do you need to eat?
No, I was eating. I think I'm just I think I'm overstimulated from the weekend. But my body belongs to me, so I'm going to try to give it some rest today.
Great. With that being said, be curious, not judgmental. BibleBreakdownPodcast@gmail.com. Until next time.